and welcome to this new episode of Let's Talk Vinyl, introduced to us by Tyler Ramsey from his new album, that is Three Ghosts. Very excited, he'll be coming around these parts soon and up into Seattle. He's touring right now across the great country we call North America, so definitely give him a check out. Tyler Ramsey, guitarist originally from Band of Horses and been doing a solo career for the last couple years, is absolutely something on my favorites, and this album is something that you don't want to miss. So definitely check that out. The new album, New Lost Ages, is everywhere you can find music. And
well, if you really want to buy that album, you just reach out to Trey Bush, because we are going to be putting that out for our vinyl club for our winery, and I definitely have some extras. And so if you want a variant color copy of that album that Tyler pressed just for us, reach out to me, Trey Bush.
I'm gonna have to hit you up on that. Well, hello, Trey. Trey Bush from the old Washington. Let's give him a round of applause, shall we? Oh yes, there he is. And Anthony from Kansas City, Missouri. Oh, well, that's not what I was expecting, but it is what it is. And we are here tonight to talk about two Pearl Jam songs. Now, we were supposed to do this show last week, but things came up. It's part of life. We adjust, we change. But tonight, we're going to be talking about Future Days, which we've actually kind of talked about in the past. We did a show with like 4 songs. That was part of it. We didn't really break into it too much. And then we're also going to be talking about the new Pearl Jam single, Dark Matter, off the album Dark Matter. And I think it's going to be interesting based off the information, how we take on these songs and how we look at it and go from there. But before we do any of the Pearl Jam stuff, and before we even discuss any of what's going to happen in Seattle, now that it's official, and that now before we do anything, let's talk about what this show is based upon, and that is wine and music. And before we get into the music, let's get right into the wine. And I FaceTimed Trey about like an hour and a half ago. And I kind of got berated a little bit in this store, because I was like, listen, I thought I had a bottle of wine. I was like, it was called Pessimist. It had like a bonsai tree on it. It sounded good, but I was told no, and I was given I was told to go with this bottle of wine, which we'll be discussing here in a little bit. But I wanted a red wine tonight. It's been a while since I've drank a bottle of wine, and I was like, you know what? I like reds. Let's do it right. Trey, before we talk about mine, and I've talked way too much already in this 3.5 minutes, why don't you talk a little bit?
Well, when you FaceTime me and basically walk me through the selection that you had a choice of, I'm assuming you're in a grocery store.
The one we got wine. Yeah, the one we went for, the store we went to last time you were here.
Oh, right. Yeah, in your neighborhood wine shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was disappointed to see the majority of the wines that were there. However, as you kept on moving to the left, you finally came across that blackboard, and I saw, oh, that's from Washington State. That's Matthews Winery makes that. And so I knew, well, I know the winemaking team over there, and they're solid guys. The winery is owned by the Otis family, which has been in the Washington wine business for a long time. They purchased Matthews in like 2008 or 9, something like that, and are good folks for the industry. That is their larger brand, the Blackboard brand, that's meant for larger distribution. So they distribute that wine in probably 30 states. So you should be able to find Blackboard. They make a Cabernet and a red wine, and I think that's it. I don't even think they do any whites. I think they're only making a couple of different reds. So I have not had that wine that you have in your glass, Anthony. Oh, there we go. I was going to pull that up. But I do know that it's a Bordeaux blend of Cab Merlot and Petit Verdot. Mm-hmm. If you notice the production size of that wine, you're at almost 12,000 cases of that particular wine were produced. Wow. And just to give you an idea, my winery makes about 9,000 cases a year total between everything that we make. So that wine was really made for distribution in mind. Can you tell us where that was priced, Anthony? What did you pay for that? $20?
Yeah, it was like $18, I think is what it was when I was all said and done with. So I didn't realize my local grocery store on Wednesdays, it's $1 off a bottle of wine. So I saved some money.
Oh, that's the day to buy your wine then.
That is
perfect. Their vineyard sourcing is kind of all over the state. They do work with a lot of different vineyards around the state of Washington, so you're not really going to get necessarily the flavor profile from just one particular vineyard, um, or or even one AVA. As I'm looking at it, if you go left. To the it says Soaring Eagle, McNary, Four Feathers. These vineyards are all over the place, and so I don't think you're necessarily going to be able to get a true sense of place with that wine. But hopefully, when I say that, I mean it from like a particular vineyard. But certainly, it should have all the aspects of a great Washington wine, and that is freshness, fruit purity. And it looks like they're using quite a bit of new oak on that, so you're going to get some new oak aromatics and flavors. You're going to have to tell me, Anthony, what you're smelling and tasting with that.
So it is on the sweeter side. I feel like maybe I'm wrong for thinking
Okay.
it just tastes sweeter to me. It's
Yeah.
not. I thought it was gonna be heavier based off of the mixture I mean, when it says it's 63% Cabernet, 30%
Cabernet, right?
Merlot, I thought it was gonna be heavy, and it is not heavy at all. It feels lighter on the tongue. It's not as tannic.
Okay.
Look at me using words. And but I'm enjoying it. It's actually a nice this what I'm looking at every time I drink something. I'm like, where can I drink this besides at a desk talking to you on a podcast once a month? And like for me, like this would be good with I feel like I would eat this with a cheeseburger. I would eat this like on a nice summer evening, like on like a nice back patio as the sun's setting down at like 8:54 in the evening. Like I think this is a perfect blend of all that.
That's a very specific time.
8:53 is never a good
In the
time to be
evening on
drinking.
your patio.
Yeah, 8:54, sun setting, summertime, July 11th. That's where I'll be with this bottle of wine.
Awesome. Well, that is from the 2020 vintage, which was for Washington. That was the wildfire year. We had wildfire smoke coming in from California and Oregon that vintage, and there were some of the wines from that vintage were a little hit and miss. There's no way to. It's not like you can just hide from the smoke. It sort of blanketed everywhere. So, but it had different effects with different vineyards and different varietals and stuff. And so, in the end, you're safer buying a wine from Washington than you are from Oregon or California from the 2020 vintage. I like the 2020s that we made. I thought that it was outside the challenges that the fire season brought. It was actually a really good growing season, and so we had a couple of lots that didn't fare very well, and we just dumped those down the drain, and the rest of them we blended, and they've been delicious. So I pulled out a Cabernet as well. So if you go back to look at your blend, Anthony, yours is 63% Cab, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So to be labeled on a bottle Cabernet instead of red wine, it has to be 75% varietal, right? And so that's only 65% or 63 or whatever it says. So so they have to call that a red blend, or they have a proprietary name for it, and so that's what that is. The wine that I brought was 100% Cabernet.
Ooh.
And it's a wine that I actually made for trying to get the label so you can see it here.
Go right into the camera.
I made this for my good friend Damon Lalonde. He is the vineyard manager for French Creek Vineyard in the Yakima Valley. These vines were planted. Hey, look at that. Dude, how about that? That's the cab block right there. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not the cab block. That is, that's looking due south right there. If you see that line of trees, there's a house at the base of that line of trees right there. And this Cabernet comes from that vineyard block right next to those trees. And when that vineyard was established, it had 10 acres of Chardonnay established back in 1980. And then it had 3 acres of Cabernet established around 1990. And so they're fairly old vines. Those two blocks, at least, are fairly old vines. We worked with that vineyard for a number of years, probably 7 or 8 years, until the vineyard was purchased from a winery called The Walls. and the Walls started using the Cabernet for their own program, and so we had to give that fruit up. But um, really enjoyed working with that vineyard, and we still work with the Chardonnay today. Our French Creek Vineyard Chardonnay comes from that vineyard right there, and again, some of the oldest Chardonnay vineyards in Chardonnay vines in the state of Washington,
Wow.
which is kind of cool. This
It's
Cabernet is 100% Cab, and it's done in 1-year-old French oak barrels. So there's no new oak on it, but there's just a hint of oak on it. And so this wine is now 11 years old, 2013,
wow.
and it's it's in the perfect stage to drink it. If I had these in my cellar, I'd be drinking these over the next couple of years. It's showing still a lot of primary fruit, very fruit forward still. However, it's picking up some secondary characteristics as those wine age. As red wines age over time, they change, and this has certainly picked up some of those really cool secondary characteristics, which is awesome. Hey, Matt.
So
All right,
I
buddy.
did see you said it was 40 acres. Is that a pretty common size for a winery, or is that a larger or smaller size based
Well,
off of
it's
what?
a vineyard. That's a vineyard, not a winery, because they're different things.
I apologize.
And so that vineyard, yeah, the vineyard itself. When I was working with it, when we first started working with it, the vineyard was only 13 acres. It was 10 acres of Chardonnay and 3 acres of Cabernet. And when Mike Martin from the Walls bought that property, he planted basically the rest of the land that was undeveloped at the time. And so now it's about 40 acres total. I can't say that all 40 acres are planted, but it's mostly planted out now. And he's added a lot of different varietals. We also get Grenache from that site. And Keith, my production winemaker, works with Syrah from that site. They've got a bunch of Rhone white varietals there. They've got a little bit of Merlot, a little bit of Cabernet, new Cabernet and stuff. But no, it's a really neat vineyard site, kind of the warmer part of the Yakima Valley, and which bodes well for this Cabernet. And yeah, I think this particular Cabernet is held up very well. We call the wine Block. It's called Block 10.
Okay.
And it's a little bit of an homage to Pearl Jam, and I'll tell you why. Because when I started working with this vineyard back in 2006, the vineyard manager, I guess I can call him the vineyard manager, but the owner of the vineyard and the guy who was sort of taking that property was Raj Parashar. And Raj and his brother, Rick Parashar, at the time owned London Bridge Studio. And I shouldn't say at the time. At one point, Raj and Rick together owned London Bridge Studio. And when they sold the studio, at some point they had a falling out. Raj left and took his share of the studio money and purchased French Creek Vineyard. Purchased that the homestead there. Lived in a really old rundown farmhouse on the property. And a friend of mine put me in touch with Raj, and because he knew that I would know who he was, and yeah, I got to work with Raj for about 3 years, and then Raj sold the vineyard to another gentleman who hired Damon, my good friend, to manage that vineyard, and Damon's been managing French Creek ever since, and really, really cool site. And yeah, it's a neat wine. So it's not really, I can't tell you it's available for sale at all. It's certainly an old vintage. We made this for him in 2012, 13, and 14. We made 3 vintages of this wine for him.
Okay.
And it was just a small personal label for Damon. And I know he was selling it, but I'm assuming by now all those wines are sold out. So
Let me ask you this, because this information that I'm getting about size and stuff, and I know that you have where you harvest your wine, your grapes for your wine at your winery. See, I'm correcting myself. Your vineyard, not your winery, the vineyard. I'm correcting myself. I apologize. How large is where you actually grow your grapes, and how many other vineyards do you utilize for other blends that you're doing? Like, is this? I mean, I know that you have other your hands in multiple different things, and you're not able to grow everything on site. But I mean, how many acres are you basically harvesting yearly?
Well, we work with it. I like to think more of it like tons, right, as opposed to how many acres.
Okay.
We typically produce between 130 and 150 tons of grapes a year.
Wow.
And that's what equates to roughly 9,000 cases of wine. Okay, that's your 60 to 65 cases per ton. That's the wine math on it. But we work with a combination of estate vineyards that we either own or have long-term leases on, like a 25-year land lease. And what that does for us is that protects us, the winery, for having a continuous fruit source for 20 or 25 years, right? I don't have to worry about, a lot of vineyards have like a 3 or 4 year contract or a 5-year contract. At the end of that contract, they have the ability to just not sell that fruit to you anymore. Or you have the ability to not buy that fruit again because they raised their prices too much, or whatever it is. What ends up happening is you lose that consistency in the product that you're making. And when people expect a certain product from you, a certain quality level, those things are very important. And so for us, we rely on those for almost all of our, well, really all of our Bordeaux varietals are from these long-term lease properties that we have. And we have some in Walla Walla, we have some on Red Mountain, we have some in the Horse Seven Hills, and we have some in the Yakima Valley. And having the diversification of sites does a lot for us. One is I've talked about this before, but we can make a more complex wine by blending multiple vineyard sites rather than relying on just one. And one vineyard does tell a story, and a lot of times they can be very complex stories. And there's a good example, right? So you have a single vineyard, single varietal, so when you smell and taste this wine, you know it came from one place. The wine you're drinking came as much like the wines that we make that are multiple vineyard sites. And so the story is more like Washington instead of Walla Walla or Red Mountain, or and especially out in the marketplace in Kansas City, if that said Red Mountain on it, or if it said Yakima Valley, 95% of the people walking by would not have any clue that that's in Washington State. But if it says Washington State on the label, they know that. They're like, oh, okay, I've had a Washington wine before, maybe, and more eager to pick it up. So. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons that we do work with multiple vineyard sites, and not only for the complexity, but also in this past winter we had a very hard freeze in Walla Walla in January. Got down to some places down to 14 below zero, most places 8 to 10 below zero, and so there was quite a bit of winter damage here in the valley to our vines. And the folks that are 100% reliant on Walla Walla Valley grapes, they are going to be in for a world of hurt this year because there's not going to be a lot of fruit. Most of the vineyards will have to be cut back to the ground. For us, I've got so many vineyards outside of the Walla Walla Valley that weren't really affected by the freeze that, yes, we might make a little less wine this vintage because of that freeze, but we're not without grapes. So there's some continuity in what we're doing. And so
does it make that vintage that you're making less of more valuable because you're not making so much more of it?
No, not really. I mean, no. In the broader picture, no, not at all. I mean, there's so much wine in the world that it's, just because I'm making 600 cases this year instead of 800 cases, it's not like I can raise my prices because of that. You know what I mean?
I was talking more long term for the. I mean, there's people that drink it, and there's people that collect it, and then there's people that wait till it ages. And I didn't know if there was like certain years that it just brought the collectability or the value of it up. That's all I was asking.
Yeah, no, there's for sure there are vintages that, but those are based on the quality of the vintage, not based on the limited not based on the limited amount because the vintage had maybe a freeze and there's going to be less wine made. That doesn't mean that vintage is a better vintage. That makes sense. Like the freeze happened in the wintertime, so we haven't even had our vintage yet. We have no idea what awaits us over the next 7 months, right? So we've got to play that out. Now, thankfully, Washington State's fairly consistent in quality, in high quality vintages. Even in cooler vintages or cold vintages, we still have the ability to make world class wines. So,
well, that's fantastic. It's always good to learn from you, Trey. I feel like I get an education every time I talk to you. It's overwhelming. And here's the negative thing about this is like I only obtain like 30% because that's just my brain. So then it's like I
That's
know we
okay.
probably that's where I'm at. I'm at a 30% capacity. Once it gets 30%, it's all out the window for me. It's
Yeah.
my wife might disagree and say I'm at like 15%, but I think 30% is a more fair number. But no, I'm glad this one this is probably out of all the wines we've drank over the last coming up on 4 years that we've been doing this show. This is probably a top 5 for me. I really like this bottle of wine, and I was not expecting to like it as much as I do. It's not as tannic, it's not as heavy, and it really is an enjoyable, just kind of. It's a really good blend. I do like this one. This is a really good one.
Oh, good.
So,
Cool.
all right.
Yeah, like I said, that price point. That's a good price point, and it's a quality producer, and that's one of those wines where, and it's widely available. And
Yeah.
so those three things added, and I say widely available. 11,000 cases in the world of wine still is a tiny amount of wine, but it's more broadly available than anything that we make for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those wines for like, hey, if you see that on a restaurant list anywhere, or you see it in a grocery store or a wine shop, that's certainly worth picking up for that price point. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Before we transition into completely in Pearl Jam, should we talk a little bit about this? So we announced last month. Before everyone was asking, when are we going to have these Pearl Jam dates? 3 months ago on this show, I gave you the dates. Everyone rolled their eyes at me. No one believed me.
Nobody rolled their eyes.
Everybody rolled their eyes.
You never know.
But the dates are official now. And we'll talk about your experience with getting tickets and all that craziness and whatever. We'll get everyone's opinion because it's a touchy subject for sure. But we are 100%. We announced the event not that long ago. Actually, I'll pull up the image now of what the event looks like here. Hold on one second as I have to move it on to screens. I have multiple screens on this desk here. But we are going to be having an event. I'm super grateful for Trey. He's going to be opening up his winery in Seattle to venerate Smash. And I'll give Trey a minute here in a sec to talk about that. But on May 29th, Uncorked and Unplugged in Seattle, Washington, in between both Seattle Pearl Jam shows. This will be the first time Pearl Jam has played in Seattle since 2018. And if you think about that, that is a long time, 6 years since the last time they played. And in between those shows, the Touring Fan Live, Sleight of Hand Sellers, and Let's Talk Vinyl, we're all coming together to put together for something for an amazing cause. And we're going to be doing acoustic Pearl Jam music. We're going to be doing things, and we're about to announce one of many people that are involved in this. Trey, and you know who these people are, but are you ready for me to announce the first person?
Sure, let's do it.
The first person, and the reason I'm saying this first, too, because she was the first photographer ever to photograph Pearl Jam. The only photographer at Pearl Jam's first show. We're talking about the lovely, amazingly talented Karen Mason Blair will be there showcasing art for photos from the first show and throughout her career of Pearl Jam and so much more. You'll be able to go there and meet her. You'll be able to purchase some of her work. There's going to be so much wrapped around her and Pearl Jam in this event. It's going to be magical. And this is just one of many guests that are going to be there for the entire day. Tickets are going to be going on sale. We'll be announcing those over the next few weeks as we continue. This is a big moving project, and we want to make sure it's done correctly. Not only just for the fact that we want to make sure that we keep up with what Touring Fan Live's done and what Sleight of Hand Sellers, who they consistently put on amazing events up in Seattle. We just want to make sure this is something that when you're taking that day off in between shows, you're not like, man, I wish I went somewhere else. You're like, no, I'm so glad that I spent my day meeting such amazing artists and some poster artists and musicians, and I was able to hear such great music and raise money for an amazing cause, which is Smash Seattle. And it's going to be such a great event. So more information coming now, but you heard it here first. First person associated with the event, Karen Mason Blair. So, Trey, why don't you give us a little rundown about why we decided to raise money for Smash Seattle and and how that money gets used?
Sure. So I joined the board for Smash late last year, and we've been going to the Smash benefit, which is in Seattle at the Moore Theater, every year. Mike McCready and really Pearl Jam in general have been a huge supporter of Smash as well over the years. Smash is Seattle Musicians for Access to Sustainable Healthcare. The idea is it's an organization that helps these struggling musicians get the health care they needed, whether that is mental health care, whether that is dental, whether that is medical. Our organization has partnered up with providers all around King County and a broader area, Pierce County. I think it's a 5-county area over in Western Washington. And the idea is, a lot of musicians don't have access to health care, and if they do, or not health care, but insurance, because they're self-employed, and insurance is too expensive for them. And so it's a really fantastic organization. It's less than 10 years old, and we're trying to grow this thing. It was started by some just amazing folks, and we've had some incredible musicians that have graced the stages of the Smash benefit, and we're going to try to get a lot of these guys to come play our benefit show that Wednesday night, to have an acoustic Pearl Jam show, and basically, have do all Pearl Jam covers that evening. It's going to be an incredible. Oh, hey, what's up, Steve? My buddy Steve, and I got to hang out with him and his wife Wendy in Portland on Monday. So
nice.
Anyway, it was it's going to be an incredible day. Not just the evening, but as Anthony mentioned, we're going to have there's going to be an auction portion as well, between our community of Pearl Jam fans that we know. We're going to have some really cool stuff that's up for auction. For the folks who can't come to Seattle, we hope to have a way for online auction to be a part of this thing. We're hoping to be able to live stream the event as well. And so again, for folks who just can't make it to Seattle for the show, we're hoping to have the ability to live stream that. And Anthony's going to be in charge of that for me. And along with Karen Mason Blair, we have a host of other folks that we want to have highlighted during the day. So we're certainly going to be working, and we're already talking to a bunch of poster artists to have them out. And it's just going to be an awesome day. It's that in-between day of shows. I know you guys are going to be looking for stuff to do around Seattle, and certainly it's a great city to walk around and see what's happening. But our tasting room is just 2 miles south of downtown. And within our little complex, there's a pizzeria and another restaurant, as well as 4 or 5 other wineries on site. So it's a really fun place to hang out. And we just wanted to provide a place for our community, not just community of Pearl Jam fans, but community of music lovers, to come and hang out and just share their love of music and just try to do some good in the world. Yeah. And we're hoping to raise a lot of money for this thing. My venue can only fit about 160 people for the concert. And so when we announce tickets, and we'll announce it, of course, on all of our social pages here, please make sure that you don't sleep on them, because I don't think they're going to last long once we announce the lineup of musicians that we get involved. It will be a slow trickle as we get each one involved, but it's going to be a pretty special night. So,
yeah, I agree with you. And how many places are you going to be able to go to where you're going to be able to talk to people you looked up to, where you have their art on their wall, the people you listen to, so much all in one day? And you'll be able to have great food around you, friends. And here's the thing, too. I had a girl message me the other day. She's coming into Seattle. She's by herself. It's her first time seeing Pearl Jam. Been a fan for a long time. Her husband passed. She doesn't know what to do. And she's like, I just don't know. And I told her, I said, listen, Pearl Jam fans are awesome. We believe in community. We believe in giving back. This is the perfect venue for you to come to, meet some people, have a good time. You're not going to feel out of the blue. 99% of my friends are all Pearl Jam friends. I think you posted something the other day that was beautiful. If it wasn't for music, I wouldn't have as many good friends, and that is so true. And I can't wait. I'm also excited. There's so many things about Seattle I'm excited about, but one of the things is I'm actually going to be in the building with Trey Bush for a show. Now, I don't know where your seats are. for both shows. Listen. I don't know how the hell I pulled this wild card out of my ass with these tickets, but I had a grand slam on everything I picked. So I'm doing checkmate good for Pearl Jam for the shows I'm supposed to go to, but I can't wait. I'm just curious. Night 1 and night 2, do you know where your seats are?
Well, night 1 and night 2, I don't have seats for either because I got shut out of the lottery. However, I'll work my connections and make sure I have seats inside the building somewhere. So the only tickets I put in for Portland, Seattle, and Missoula, and Portland was actually the only thing that we were able to that Holly and I got tickets for.
Okay.
Through the portal system. So
sure.
But regardless, I'll find my way into the building if I have to, sneak in as a bodyguard or something. So, but yeah, we're gonna be seeing a Pearl Jam show together for the first time, which is just weird. Well, that's not true. We've certainly been in the building together.
Just didn't know each other. Just didn't know each other.
Yeah, we didn't know each other.
Didn't know each other. That's right. It's weird, but yeah, this would be. I have GA tickets for both, and I have every event except Boston. But even Boston, I have like the first row outside of GA, but I didn't want GA for Boston. But yeah, I have GA for both Seattles, but I've already offered my GA to somebody, and I'm potentially taking her seats just for the fact that, like, listen, I've done GA enough. I understand the excitement behind it, but in the same sense here, there's some people out there that, they might want it more than I do. I just like being in the building and being surrounded by people, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But I have those, and then my
mindset has certainly changed over the years about where, probably the first 20 years, man, if I could be on the rail, I was going to try to be up as close as I could.
Yeah.
And it certainly must be just me getting old, because I'm just happy to, I'm certainly happy to be in the building. And if I'm on the, off to the side, that's fine too. So,
and I have some amazing memories with being on the rail. I mean, Eddie's throwing me the mic. I've sang with him twice. I mean, that was fantastic. Those are great memories. But one of being in the pit, some of my favorite memory the last time I was in the pit was in St. Louis. I'm with Brad and I'm with my friend JJB, and we are in the back and we're just dancing and it's just, we're just having a great time, and we're smiling and there's hugs and there's just like, there's raw emotion and there's just space and we're close. And I don't, and here's the thing. I know there's some people that want to be that close because they want, maybe they want to get the attention of the band, because some people want to have that sign that says, hey, your music saved me, or hey, I'm grateful for you. And they want that, or hey, if you're on Mike's side, you want to be able to get that close to someone you admire. I've done it so many times that I want to give someone else that opportunity. So I'm just, it's tough because I do enjoy being on the road, but I also do love just being there and experiencing things. And I think the best thing about also being a little bit further away is looking at people, and you can almost spot the people that are experiencing that moment for the first time. And when you see that person, when Mike McCready comes down and puts that guitar in front of their face, and they just get shook, like, holy shit, this person I admire and love is this fucking close to me. That's amazing. And there's just so much to it. So yeah. So I got GA for night 1, night 2 of Seattle. I did get shut out of Vegas. Me and my wife were going to go to Vegas. It's the only day that worked for both of us to go. We got shut out, but now we've decided to use those funds for us to do a family trip to Boston in June, which I'm totally cool with. And I don't recall ever putting in for MSG. I hate New York. I have disdain for it. I don't like the city. I hate it. But for some reason, I won night 1 GA for MSG, and so I'm not going to MSG, but I have a ticket for night 1 MSG. So
you have 1 ticket or 2 tickets?
I only got 1. So every place I went, I got 1 ticket for. Just
well,
because.
That's probably why you got GA at all those shows then, because you only put in for 1 ticket.
Possibly.
I think folks who put in for 2 or 3 or whatever, I think that it was a little harder to.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But I got lucky, so now I have those, and I have the 2 for Boston, and that's probably where it's going to end. The thing is, flights, for me, so doing it today, for me to go to Seattle for those few days is going to be pretty much $1,000. That's flights, that's hotel, that's food, that's tickets.
What?
Yeah, about $1,000.
How are you able to do that whole week for $1,000? Where are you staying?
I don't, places.
There's a RV down on 3rd Avenue that's got an Airbnb in the back room. Is that it?
Yeah. Boston, I booked today. I got a really good deal on a flight, $108 round trip, but the hotel was, if I get this hotel, which I'm waiting to make sure I get, it's probably about $700 for the 4 days I'm going to be there. So, that's about another $1,000. And the crazy thing is, back in 2013, when I went to the majority of the tour, I drove or I flew, and I was flying $80 round trip. This was cheap. Tickets were $80, and it's tough. And this is where I'm going to ask you this question. They released the song Dark Matter in the exact same timetable that they put out the new cost of tickets. 60% increase in some countries, 18.5% increase in the United States, 32% increase over in the England area, and Australia sees increases depending on where you're going, anywhere between 30 to 45%, which is huge numbers. And we're not getting, and here's the thing, you're not getting the same band you saw when they toured there. Last time they were there, you're not getting a 2.5 hour show. It's just, unless they decide, hey, these last couple of years was a joke and we're now going to go back into old Pearl Jam. I just have a hard time believing that. So you're getting what you got, let's say last year, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, Pearl Jam at $200 a ticket, $400 a couple, $800 as a family for a single show. And then you're going to have to pay for flights. You're going to have to pay for food. And from my understanding, based off of an email that was sent to me, that some pretty reputable, the merch for this tour is potentially seeing a small increase as well. So as you look at the entire cost of the overall experience of it going up, it kind of hits you. Now, this is where it didn't bother me. I was like, it's Pearl Jam, shit's going up. I'll just take it as it is. But then they put out the song Dark Matter. And the lyrics that came out with it kind of hit me a little bit hard when the chorus talks about almost like you are paying for something that's someone else's fault. And it's like, maybe you should have picked a different single to come out at the time that the tickets went on sale. Just my opinion. Thoughts, Trey?
Look, I don't know how, I have no idea what Pearl Jam or any of these artists that are utilizing Live Nation and Ticketmaster as their ticketing agency. It's the venues, right? I have no idea. None of us have, unless you have a contract in front of you, what those fees look like, right? So that $185 ticket, we really have no idea how much of that is Ticketmaster's fees and what their take is on it, and what Pearl Jam's take is on it. And so there's a possibility that Live Nation, because they own all the venues, are like, hey, we're raising our fees for anyone wanting to use our building. Our percentage is going to be this, and da-da-da. And there's a possibility that Pearl Jam's not making a dime more on that. I have no idea. No one has. Like you can complain about it. I complained about it. I don't like seeing those ticket prices. But this is an old argument. We've had it forever. They've been, ever since that disastrous tour where they almost broke up, they've realized they don't have, their band is too big. They cannot play the Moore Theater again. I mean, they can, but you're not going to make a living doing that.
No.
A 1,500 seat theater instead of a 32,000 seat theater or 28 or whatever, So, and then you're just pissing off fans because you're playing a small venue and no one get a fucking ticket. So it's either, they can't win. And
it's not the band. This, the thing too is, and I'm not personally, pointing my finger at Eddie Vedder saying you did this, because realistically, this Pearl Jam is a business. Mr. T-Shirt is the one who handles when tour time comes on, the marketing side and the merchandise side of the band. When they are going to hit the road, it's not, and I'm not saying that the band doesn't have any decisions in anything. So they have slights.
Well,
they hire people.
I would say that the band is very much involved in a lot of that stuff. Their manager now is Smitty, who has been with them for 30 years, 30 something years, maybe from the very, very beginning. I don't know exactly when he came on board, but he's worked for them for a long, long time. And the fact is they do make a lot of these important decisions together and stuff.
Okay.
But, outside of that, they also recognize the fact that you are right, it is a business. And if you look at where the music business is today, you recognize the fact that artists are barely making money off of album sales anymore. That's just not how they make money. It's been like a 90-10 flip-flop, where it used to be you'd make your money off the album sales, you go on tour, you make a little money, that's great. Now it's, you release an album, people listen to it for free on Spotify. They're making 0.0082 cents every time someone listens to that song. And so the money to be made is touring and merch. And so, you can get mad about it and say, well, they're already rich and blah, 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 blah. And whatever. It might be a valid argument, but it is what it is. They're an older band. They're if you don't think you're getting your money's worth when you go see that band at $80 or $180 or whatever it is, I've said it that if I knew there was a one last Pearl Jam show coming up, I'd take a mortgage out on the house to make sure I go see that last show, because they bring, I feel like they pack, whatever amount of time they're going to play, you're going to walk away from that and go, well, I got my money's worth for sure. So I can't tell you that, outside of not getting fan club tickets and all of a sudden now you're subjected to Ticketmaster's surge pricing bullshit.
Sure. And
that's another one where you're like, I have no idea.
That's crazy. But just to give you a heads up too, this tour is the most amount of fan club tickets available to the general public of any tour in its existence. There was an increase by 20% of fan club tickets available per stadium, including almost a 30% increase at MSG compared to previous tours, based on the fact that one of the things that I do know that was on an article, I think on Rolling Stone, that Pearl Jam put their foot down and said, we want to make sure our fan club has the ability to offer more tickets to the fans. So that was something that I did see. I felt like more people were getting tickets than they had in the past. But we'll get into it. But before we get into Dark Matter, I am excited about this moment. I didn't tell you about this, but we are sponsored here at Let's Talk Vinyl, and we have something to I guess, do a commercial for. It's the first time. So the first time ever. So I am excited to announce our partnership, Let's Talk Vinyl, and the company Frost Buddy. Frost Buddy is offering this new thing. I'm going to send over a picture now. It's called the Wine Buddy. It is the world's first universal wine chiller. So are you sick of using ice buckets or having warm wine? The Wine Buddy fits all of your favorite wines, no matter size of shape, because it has a unique process inside of it that allows different bottles of wine to fit it comfortably without having any issue of breaking the bottle. So you just check it out. Go to frostbuddy.com. You can check it out. Not only does they serve wine bottles, but they do different cups. So if you drink cups from, McDonald's or Wendy's or any different things, they have multiple different ways you can drop your drink in there, and it keeps it cold throughout the entire day, so you don't have to worry about it getting warm. The Wine Buddy, for example, lets your wine stay cold for up to 12 hours, just putting it in from the cold fridge inside of your Wine Buddy and going from there. And all you have to do when you check out is put the code TFL Live, so TFLIVE, and then you will get 10% off your first purchase from Frost Buddy. So that, once again, check out frostbuddy.com. You can check out the shop area, and that's where you'll be able to find Wine Buddy. Right now it's on sale for $39.99. So definitely check that out. All right. That was a first. That was a mouthful. So I'm excited I got that. I've been nervous about that. I totally forgot to tell you about that. But yeah, Wine Buddy is Frost Buddy is the official sponsor of Let's Talk Vinyl for at least the next 6 months. So moving on. So now let's talk about the song Dark Matter. We're going to play it. We are going to talk about it afterwards and get everyone's opinion about what they think about it, and then go from there. Are you ready for this, Trey?
Let's do it.
All right. So from the upcoming album, Dark Matter, here is Dark Matter. That is not playing music.
from my eyes, in the blood from my heart. When all this dark matter, take a breath from my chest, let the thoughts in my mind. Well, listen, time, dark matter. Renounce the devil God, King Diamond to destroy. Lord, the dialogue, your word against the law. These days, when everybody else pays, but someone else's mistake. Their blame, these days, still everybody else pays, but someone else's mistake. Rolling away, pulling apart, and all this dark matter. I want you to stand and stick in my head. Arrested the press, no one knows what happened next. Renounce the devil God, King Diamond to destroy. Lord, the dialogue, your word against the law. These days, when everybody else pays, but someone else is mistake. They're ready. These days, still everybody else pays, but someone else is dead. No tolerance for intolerance. No patience left for impatience no more. No love lost for lost love. No sorrow for the unaccountable.
I don't know if you noticed
That
but supposedly
that was ridiculous. They threw some like stock imagery of some fucking bass player in there. It's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that was some of the worst. That didn't even look like Jeff Ament. We'll just keep this music playing in the background. So, when you heard this song for the first time, what was your initial thoughts of Dark Matter?
Yeah, it's super heavy, and it's sort of on point for, a Pearl Jam. I think there's a little bit of a political statement, political stance in there, and I think it probably sets the tone for what the album's going to be about. And my guess is I think the album's going to be a pretty heavy album. So I don't see a lot of lighthearted songs on this one coming out. That's just me.
Let me ask you a question. Have you heard the whole album yet?
No, I've not. So my buddy Jeff Whitman went down. Yeah, Whitman went down to the album party in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they played about 6 songs, and he said it was heavy and hard. So
yeah, there's only one song on it that's soft, and that's that one that him and what was his name? Why the hell am I drawing a blank? The new guy, the drummer, the background guy, the guy who puts his head in a beanie all the time.
Andrew Watt? What are you talking about?
Not Andrew Watt. What's the guy's name? That played Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Frusciante. Oh, no, not John Frusciante. The guy who played with him last time on tour.
That's right. Yeah, he's been on tour with them since only 2022. But that guy, Josh. No, not Josh. Is it Josh? No, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, Josh Klinghoffer. Josh Klinghoffer.
There you go, Klinghoffer. Yeah. Well, him and Eddie wrote a song that's very Earthling sounding, but other than that, it's.
How do you know? How'd you hear it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's for almost. I haven't heard all the songs, but I've heard the majority of them, and it's probably the best album since Riot Act, in my opinion.
Good. Well, it's interesting you say Riot Act because most people hate Riot Act. So
I don't hate Riot Act. I think Riot Act's a fantastic
I don't hate
album.
it either. I think it's a great album, but
Actually, I don't understand all the hate for Gigaton. I think Gigaton was a decent album. I don't think it was the best album they've ever done, but it was good. So, but yeah, no, I think this is, first of all, the one thing I will say, listening to Dark Matter and kind of listening to some other things, that Matt Cameron is very much on the forefront of this album. That's an Andrew Watt thing. Andrew Watt definitely produces where you hear more bass, more drums, and Matt Cameron is definitely the forefront of this. There is kind of like a AC/DC kind of sound to the Dark Matter, where it's like when the guitar kind of gives in, then Eddie sings, and when it comes out, Eddie sings. It's a very interesting production. It's different the band's doing. I think it's great. I think it sounds good. So it definitely, there's an angry, this is good. It's Angry Eddie is back, and it's good. It's different because here's the thing, from what we've been hearing leading up to this, especially if you listen to Gigaton, if you listen to Backspacer, if you listen to Lightning Bolt, if you listen to anything, including Earthlings or solo stuff, Eddie Vedder was definitely, this has not been on any of the previous albums. This is a heavier version of the band. So it's going to be curious, and we are coming into a dire time where political tensions are at a rise, and, some people go to these outlets to kind of vent. So I think this is a great song to get us right through 2024, and hopefully through the next 4 fucking years. So anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Anyway. All right, let's go right to the next song. Let's go to something a little bit more happy, shall we? So Valentine's Day was just a few weeks ago, and we had talked about this on past episodes about how music makes you feel. Like, there's songs that transport us into times that make us feel happy, that make us sad, and there's songs that Pearl Jam or other artists have made that we kind of broadcast to each other, I guess. And I mean, like, some people play it at their weddings, some people play it, when they get engaged, some people play it at a father-daughter dance. There's so many different ways that music can incorporate these feelings that we have that we can able to experience with other people.
Yeah.
Future Days off of Lightning Bolt was something that I would say was very much a love song for Pearl Jam fans that needed it. There was not many songs that Pearl Jam had put out. I mean, people were like dancing to like Yell Ledbetter, but I mean, it wasn't really the most appropriate song to be dancing to at your wedding. I would say Future Days is probably the one Pearl Jam song that if you wanted to check off the boxes, say, hey, this is me, my first dance, this is it. If this is a song you want to get engaged to, this is it. And this is a great version of it. But the downside to it was, this is where Pearl Jam fans become fickle. They ask for things, and then when they get it, they bitch about it. Because I thought Lightning Bolt was a fantastic album, and I thought that Future Days was a great bookend to an album. And a lot of people complain, they're like, oh, they're getting soft. They're playing too much slow music. They're not as creative. They're not 10 anymore. Well, here's the thing, guys. Wake up call. Pearl Jam's never going to put out 10 again. Pearl Jam's never going to put Verses out again. They're never going to put Vitology out again, and they're never going to put an album out like Gigaton again. It's just not going to happen. That's not what creative artists do. They're always looking to evolve around what they feel at that moment. And during Lightning Bolt, well, majority of these people were just having kids that were getting into stages of their lives that were from crawling to walking. There was people that were getting further along in life with marriage, and they were past midlife crisis and going into the later years in life. And this music is what resonated with them at that time. And I think they did a very good job of doing that. Trey, what are your thoughts of songs similar or that are like Future Days?
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I can't imagine how many weddings that this song's probably been played at. I mean, it's exactly what it was really meant for. Yeah, I mean, in some respects, certainly when Holly and I were trying to figure out planning our wedding and stuff, music was going to be a part of it. But you want to be. I think I wanted to be maybe a little more original, and it was almost too easy to pick that. And so, plus we had Richard Stuverud as our wedding singer, and so we got to pick one of his songs that he sang for us, and then he also did a Mazzy Star, Fade Into You too, which was really nice. So, but those, the thing they have it all in common is they're really beautiful love songs, and that is as well crafted a love song by a rock band as anybody. And hard to argue that for sure. So I don't know how you say a band's going soft. I mean, they're getting older. I mean, it's how are you if Eddie was as angry, today as he was in 1991 all the time,
they wouldn't be around.
He'd be dead by now.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
I'm sure he's angry about some things, but it's also hard to be super angry when you have a home on the coast of Hawaii, and it's a little easier to escape some of the vagaries that we're subjected to as normal human beings. So that was the best day ever, lover. 100%. Yep.
It is. It is. Could you? I don't think Stone would have stayed with Eddie if he was pissed off all the time. Stone doesn't seem like someone that's angry all the time. He seems kind of on the chiller side of things. But
Stone, he's a super mellow guy. He's got he and Regan relaunched Loose Groove Records about 2 years ago, and the label never went away. They just really didn't do a whole lot with it, and they have been super active over the last 18 months. They've got a huge show coming up at I think it's at the Paramount Theater, and it's like a loose groove. Basically, they're kind of showcasing all of their bands and their current lineup. It's unfortunately, I think Holly and I are in. I think it's the same time that she and I are in Vegas. But that's going to be a great event, and to see how they've sort of brought that label back to life has been so fun, because my buddy Dave's band Fires, Dave plays bass in Fires with Regan on drums and stuff. And I think The Deception, his other band, The Deception, with Alex DeVincent, who was in Green River. He was the drummer for Green River. Alex is the songwriter and the guitar player in The Deception. And Regan's a drummer, Dave's bass player, got a couple of other badass musicians in that band. And they are going to have, I think their second release is coming out on Loose Groove.
Okay.
I know that Record Store Day, they're releasing a compilation of different Loose Groove bands, Loose Groove artists and stuff. And so that's going to be something to watch for sure. So, but yes, to get back to Stone is a very mellow guy.
Yeah.
So,
2 things. One, I need to get you and Holly out to Kansas City. Just thought about that. That'd be a great time. And then 2, I totally forgot. I've known you for so many years, and I've had Holly do her Russian accent on the show multiple times, but I've never met her in person. So May's going to be interesting for sure. All right, here we go with Pearl Jam, Future Days. This is going to be from Denver, Colorado, where I was at, Trey was at. We just didn't know each other at the time. Here is Future Days by the band we all love, Pearl Jam.
If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. Everything I found, dear, I've not found by myself. Try and sometimes you'll succeed to make a man of me. Oh, my stolen missing parts, I've no need for anymore. I believe, and I believe, 'cause I can see our future days of you and me. on a prayer. You can be busy in the ocean or with something out there. All the complexities and games, no one wins, but somehow they still play. All the missing crooked hearts, they may die, but in us they live on. I believe, and I believe, 'cause I can see our future days of you and me. When hurricanes and cyclones rage, when winter turns to dust, when floods they came, or tides they raised, ever closer became us. All the promises that somehow I've met them like forest. Demons dancing used to come round. I'm grateful now they have all left. So persistent in my ways. Yeah, angel, I am here to stay. No resistance, no alarms. Please, this is just too good to be born. I believe, and I believe, 'cause I can see our future days of you and me, you and me, days you and me.
I love that. I do love that song. Oh, what is this? Post Malone sang with Eddie Vedder recently? Did you know about this?
Yeah, that he did a little the benefit show that he did for EB. He did that outside of I think it was in Nashville.
I didn't even know this. This is the first time I've ever seen this.
It's happened like a week and a half ago, something like that. You better save that. You better save that for another show. That was a good one.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know this. And first of all, it's pro shot too, which this is wow. Now I will say this. I didn't know anything about Post Malone. I wasn't a fan or whatever because I didn't know his music. But recently listening to him,
Oh my God, that guy's got an incredible voice.
Yeah.
He really does. So, and he's just a good dude, you know. It's like, of course, he's probably wouldn't go for that. Probably wouldn't go for that look, but you know, that's to each his own. So
yeah. First of all, this brings up everything. First of all, I want your wife said, prepare for major shenanigans. I say we should all get tattoos. Do you have a tattoo? Do you have a tattoo, Trey?
yeah, a couple.
Do you really? I'm shocked by that. I don't. Looking at you right now, I would never expect you to have a tattoo.
Holly, just keep it quiet.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go back to the song we just listened to. Future Days.
You're not gonna see him. I'll tell you that.
Oh, come on. Well, you know, I mean, you did spend the night here and you didn't show me any of them. I mean, I guess I didn't get you that drunk. So it's maybe next time. Which also, I will tell you something. Now that I have the connections here, and I saw that you were doing in Portland this whole DJ set, I have a whole that brewery you went to that you didn't really like the beer or whatever case may be. Now that they're owned by a new company, they were like, "Hey, if this guy comes back and he wants to do a whole night where he plays music and stuff, we'll give him the stage." I said, "Oh, let's get him." Oh, timeout. Okay, Trey's tattoos are amazing. This is, I'm not going to give this up. I am not going to be able to properly move on in life until I know why these Trey's tattoos are so amazing.
You have to wait till Seattle, Anthony.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. But I cannot wait. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to Seattle. Seattle's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a really good time. Anyway,
Seattle is going to be a great time, and not only the shows. I'm really looking forward to seeing another show in Climate Pledge. Holly and I got to see Kiss back in November at Climate Pledge Arena. It was both of our first time in the new venue to see anything, and it was the sound was great, and so hopefully we've got fairly decent seats and stuff. But they redesigned that venue. It used to be one of the worst places to see a concert when it was Key Arena. The sound was just atrocious in there. But now that they really redesigned that place with music as a forefront, certainly it's where the Kraken play, the hockey team and stuff. And one day we'll get a basketball team again, although knowing the city of Seattle, we'll just build another arena for the basketball team, because that's what you need, is a separate arena. But anyway, it is a great place for a concert. So we can't wait to see Pearl Jam there, and honestly, so excited about that Wednesday day in between. There's so much work to be done, but we're going to make this. It's just going to be an incredible event. We're going to raise a ton of money for Smash, and I'm stoked about it. Getting excited. It's end of May, so we're like, okay, we really have March, April, and May. We really have 3 months essentially from today. What is it?
Yeah,
Say the 28th.
3 months, basically 3 months from today.
3 months. 3 months to put this event together and make it a world-class event for fans, and we want people talking about this for years to come. So
I agree. I can't wait. I'm coming in that Sunday evening. My plane lands at like 11:30 in the evening on Sunday. I'm going to be interviewing for the Touring Fan Live. I'm doing some interviews there and working with some people while I'm there. I'm looking to interview some fans as well for the show, and I can't wait. I'm looking forward to seeing you, meeting Holly, being part of and I really love Seattle. I love the food there. I love the smells. I love the atmosphere of it and stuff. It's a really neat place, and it just is a really cool place tucked in the corner of North America.
yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to think of. Well, it's not hard to think of because there's plenty of the 80s metal scene in LA, and the punk scene in New York, and the blues scene in Chicago, and all these Athens, Georgia in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But they all had something in common, and that was this incredible community of musicians that all had a common goal, I think. And I'm grateful that I've lived here for 32 years now. I've lived in Pacific Northwest.
If I do the math real quick, Trey, if you lived there 32 years, I would have been 6 when you moved there. Huh.
It was. That's what it was. You got it right.
Oh, goodness. It's all right.
But it is an amazing city. It has changed dramatically. A lot of folks will tell you it hasn't changed for the better. I think that there's some things that are, that we've lost a lot of really amazing things as the city has grown up. That's just inevitable. Things change. Hopefully things, you want things to change for the better. But when you lose a dive bar to a Chipotle, I would not necessarily call that change for the better. And as Seattle was taken over by the tech industry, that city has felt that. But the soul of the city is the same to me. I still drive around there, and it still feels like they're living there for eight years, from 92 to 2000. I feel so fortunate to have experienced that at the age that I was, 22, 23 years old up through 30-ish, right? So living there at a super important time of my life and getting to experience all of that great music. Going back to what you said earlier about, I posted this thing about, how many friends you made through music. And I'd be hard pressed to find people that I haven't met through, music. I mean, it's the majority for me rather than the minority. The majority of my friends are friends of mine because I've met them through music. The community of people that I just know in Seattle, I get to work with the Smash organization, with all the stuff that our winery does in the world of music and stuff. It's still a very vibrant art scene and music scene, and I'm grateful for that. So, and I'm glad you guys are going to come up and hang out with us and experience that together. It's going to be great.
I am very much looking forward to seeing you, dude. You know how I feel about you, and I'm very excited about it. So that's coming up in May. I do want to bring up two more things. So we have next month's episode, which you just pick a date, you let me know, we'll go from there.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about the April episode.
Yeah.
April 24th is going to be the episode, as long as Trey doesn't say no right now.
What date?
April 24th.
Yeah, it's the only thing I'm dependent on, I'll tell you, is we've got an event that's happening in Walla Walla called Hospice Daron.
Okay.
And it is one of the largest wine events in the country. And they're bringing it to be in Walla Walla for the first time. There is an opening. The opening party is that Wednesday. I do not know what time it is yet.
Okay.
And so now, if you want to have it on Tuesday the 23rd, instead of Wednesday,
we could do. I guess we could do that. It's just the 24th is my 39th birthday. I was gonna have some musicians live in studio and use that day to raise money for a special cause. But if we have to do the 23rd, I could do the 23rd. That's cool.
Well, we'll figure.
We got time.
Let me work on my time frame, but unfortunately, that Wednesday, if it is,
don't say unfortunately. You're doing a good thing. We're all doing good things. It's not a big deal. We'll figure it out. But yeah, next month we'll figure a date out. We'll come out with it. By that time the new Pearl Jam song will be out. The new single is supposed to be coming out next week. From what I'm reading,
album comes out April 19th. By the way,
what'd you say?
Album drops April 19th.
Yes, and then the special edition comes out on Record Store Day, which is on April 20th, which is some sort of limited edition color variant of the vinyl. So I'm assuming you'll probably get some of those, won't you, Trey?
I hope so.
Well,
oh, you mean from my record store? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. So next month, what we'll do is we'll probably do by the next episode, the new single will come out. We'll probably do the new single and we'll do one more song. And I'm not gonna pick a song yet because I want to try to find a song that is similar or completely different than what the single is going to be out. And I'm not sure what single it is, so we'll be curious to see what that comes out over the next few weeks. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Trey will pick a date for that, and we'll go from there. To discuss a couple of the shows as we end this off, we have coming out. So tomorrow, which is Thursday evening, we'll be having a show on Let's Talk Vinyl. Not talking about for the Touring Fan Live. We'll be talking about That List. We'll be looking at the college radio playlist from 30 years ago, talking about the music that was played, top 10 songs and songs from that playlist, and where are those bands now. We have next. The first week of March,
which show is that, Anthony? Which one is that one? That's going to be a good one. 30 years ago, the top 10 albums. Is that what it is?
It's a top 10 songs from college. Okay. It's from CMJ. It's College Music Radio. It was a magazine put out back in the late 90s. It's a new show that's coming out on the Touring Fan Live. It's called That List, and we'll be discussing the songs played on College Music Radio. And the reason I'm doing that is because those songs tend to be more in line with the music listened to compared to the top music. You know, for instance, the top song 30 years ago was a Celine Dion song. Little Anthony, and even Anthony of now, is not really listening to Celine Dion. So compared to what is actually on the top 10 College Music Radio list. So that comes out tomorrow. That'll be everywhere. And then we have, in a week and a half, we have 3 Pints of Pop with myself, Dan Mumford, and Bailey Race. Dan Mumford's just coming back from Japan, so it'll be interesting to hear from him as we talk more pop culture. And then on March 11th, myself and Liam Finn will be sitting down for a one-on-one interview, talking about his new album coming out, his new music, and him touring with his dad, and his consistent adjustment in the music industry. And then me and Brian will be back with another unnecessary list, and then the shows just keep rolling around as we continue moving along. And then me and Trey will be back on your screen at some point. Trey, anything you'd like to promote before we call it quit?
I don't think so. I just want to make sure everybody saves the date for that Wednesday, March 20 or May 27th. Is that the date? Is that right? Or 29th? What's that Wednesday?
Oh, Jesus.
28th and 30th, or is it the
28th,
26th
30th, so 29th. We're on the 29th.
Yeah. So yeah, 3 months from tomorrow, May 29th.
Crazy.
We're
And
excited
it's,
to see you guys in the winery. So
happy leap year.
yeah. Hey, happy leap year.
Happy
Oh my gosh.
leap year to you. Who would have thought?
How lucky are we? We get the extra day this year. So
I don't know if it really means anything, but sure. All right. Well, listen, guys.
At my age, I'm going to take the extra day. Trust me.
I'll take the extra day. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, until next time, Mr. Trey Bush, extremely talented winery, vineyard. He owns everything. He makes it so well. Amazing friend, super knowledgeable, and I'm Anthony Krzyzewicz. Till next time, thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Vinyl.
Mercy on your soul, hanging there on a foreign shore, left behind.